This is Ben from Kamon Knives, and you're listening to the High Carbon Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the High Carbon episode, podcast, whatever. Keith is gone, as you know, he's off to USA. And we are doing the summer episodes. Me and Albert are together in this debacle. And we got some wonderful, wonderful guests. Instead of Keith, we got Benjamin Kamon. Hello, my man. Hey. And I need to present our second guest that is really, really important. But before that, I want just to do that. Kilns. This show is sponsored by minihell.eu because they got super affordable kilns that are very good quality, and also they give you a small discount. You can use Carbon 5 at checkout to save 5% on already affordable kiln. So, and while you're shopping for your next kiln, you can buy some heat treatment foil, heat treatment racks for batch hardening. And if you don't find anything that suits your need on there, you can also DM them on Instagram or shoot them an email, and they can build you a custom kiln, be it super big or super small. And now, back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I really need to introduce this guest, because everybody says, oh, you know the guy, but maybe some listeners don't. He's the co-host of Knife Talk podcast, one of the biggest knife-related podcasts on this German-infested planet, as he says. He is also the main host of Full Blast podcast and the co-owner of Feder Knives, Mr. Geoff Feder. How are you doing, my man?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me back. That was quite an introduction, Pauli. Thank you so much.
I'm out of breath right now.
Yeah, you really you said you said a mouthful. You sound tired. You're right.
Yeah, it's fine. It was just a really, really hectic day. I was running with my hair on fire for the whole day. I did not expect to be it like that, but you know, sometimes things happen, and also we are recording a little bit earlier. But these are all. Look, listen. First of all, thank you for coming on to the show. I was really surprised. We invited you, and you just came on, and it's really, really fun to have you back. I think it's almost a year anniversary since you've been the last time. And also after that episode, you kind of said that you are never going on any other maker podcast ever.
That's right.
So it's so fun. In your face, hustle and grind. Listen to that.
No. I don't. I mean, it's sometimes it's hard for me to go on other podcasts to do two podcasts, but I have nothing. But I actually talked to Noah a couple days ago and sending him my best vibes because he's getting over some, an injury and stuff like that. But I just, getting on other podcasts. Paul, you invited me on. What am I supposed to do? Say no?
No, you could. You can. I
should have said no.
Yeah, you should have. You should
have.
I
should have said no.
This is why I love you. So good to have you here. You are voluntarily here. Maybe you are regretting it, most probably, but it's fine. Look, now I really wanted to ask quite a few questions about the business side of Feder Knives, which you touched on other podcasts, but you did not really go into that. Kinda. Ish. If I remember correctly, the brand Feder Knives did kind of a small rebranding, right? You went from a kind of your personal branding, being Geoff Feder, right, to a kind of changing the logo to a feather, right? Because feather, and you are changing that into that direction for obscuring it more from yourself as a personal brand and doing a more like kind of official business. Or what is your thinking in doing that?
Well, no, I think you're reading far too into it. We're on our third website. We had a website redone, and it was something we all just agreed on that, my original touch mark, which was a G and an F with a kind of a cross, an X in it, a five aligned X in it, just didn't really seem to suit the business in general. So we just decided to inaugurate the new website with just a different logo. So we went through a couple different things, and my last name Feder is feather in German, and something part of the stuff I've done in the past in terms of sculpture, lots of birds and stuff like that. It's just made a lot of sense. But I don't think that there was a lot of branding changes. It was just a question of like, why don't we get a new touch mark? And then the other thing is that it kind of identifies when you see our knives, you know, it kind of identifies it as opposed to people saying who made that knife. So I think that, you know, we just made a couple of little changes.
But they are in the right direction to making the brand more understandable for people to be more recognizable.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a, you know, big change. I mean, it was just like a, you know, just a different logo. The new website. But I got to tell you, I think that a lot of knife makers try to use too many words that they think that they should be using in terms of their business. And I try to keep everything as simple as possible. You know, I'm not really, you know, I'm not a marketing genius by any means. And I'm not a business genius by any means. I have a business partner and people who work for me and with me that allow me to kind of make some better decisions, but I kind of try to keep things as simple as possible. I didn't really, it wasn't even my idea. Somebody said, hey, you know what we should do is we should change the logo. I'm like, all right, great. Come up with some logos.
Now, a follow-up question. That might be extremely stupid, but does the pronunciation change of your brand just because it should be pronounced as German, as Feder, I guess, not Feder?
What?
Or help me out, guys. You know German. Like, look, it's Feder, right? And it's one way pronounced in English, but a feather in German is pronounced a little bit different. So I'm just wondering if the official brand name is pronounced now a little bit different.
He's American and he would spell his surname like in English, I would guess. I mean, he does.
Maybe.
So.
Maybe.
I mean, it was a coincidence, and I didn't feel the need to have us design a logo, Pauli, where I would then have to change the pronunciation of my last name. That would be kind of, you know, seemed like a lot of extra. Remember I told you I wanted to keep things simple? I just, you know, just it was kind of a nice coincidence.
I did the prerequisites saying it might be really stupid, but I have to ask
No. It's a good question. I just, you know, it's this very strange because I'm not 100% sure. I don't speak German, and I don't know how other people. I know that there are other people. The Feder is a relatively much more common name than you think, but I know that some people pronounce it Feder, but I've always, you know, I grew up in my family. They used to Feder, so I don't really take much more about that than it is.
But it's very close to the German pronunciation, so there's not much difference.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's the German pronunciation?
Feder.
Okay, so I'm in there.
Yeah,
we were right.
Yeah, you're right.
So what's the problem?
But Pauli didn't know.
Pauli, what the fuck? What I mean, didn't you answer your own question?
You know, fuck is what? I mean, I speak Lithuanian, and every language is my second language. So you know, give me some clarification.
Pauli did dance around the question though a little bit because he talked about it. So I'm assuming he wanted to ask you if you're kind of stepping away a little from the brand itself in order for you to have the availability to sell the company later on. Isn't that the question, Pauli? Like I read that into it at least. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good read. That's a good read. I mean, you know, the funny thing is actually today I just got an email from an investment, private equity investment group about selling the business. Well, I mean, it just, you know, it was such a boring form letter that I was just like, yeah, I don't even engage in something like this. You know, when we decided to do this business, and the thing is I'm older than a lot of the guys who started, you know, learning how to make this stuff in YouTube. And when I decided to, and I spent a lot of time making sculpture, and I spent a lot of time as a fabricator. And when I wanted to come up with this company, we really had a game plan. And the game plan, and especially when I introduced my business partner, Tony, into the game plan, there had to be, it couldn't just be let's just see how it goes. You know, there was a game plan. And part of it was when we filled our contracts out and kind of like made, you know, legal arrangements and stuff like that. The idea that it could possibly be sold was part of the, you know, it was in play. So that's always been something that, you know, if the opportunity presents itself, I don't see it happening for a while, but I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, you can, you know, I'm gonna definitely entertain.
But now I have the question: did you ever think about how high you would value it, or like a roundabout?
I mean,
you don't need
really,
to say numbers, but did you think about it, or?
No, not at the time. I mean, I think that, the interesting thing is we really kind of took the business end of it very seriously, and we started getting very involved with the accounting and then the auditing of the business, to the point where if we decided that we wanted to take, get a loan from a bank or get involved with partnerships, and we had opportunities for other partnerships, and we made the decision that we just didn't want to do it because it was like one more cut in the pie, which we didn't really want to do. But there was always, we have things in place that we could present ourselves, the business, to investors or to, opportunities to show growth over the past 10 years. So the answer is we don't have an exact number, but we've put things in place for if the right opportunity were to present itself, we have all of our numbers and information.
I have another question.
Readily available.
If you would get an offer that you two guys will decide to sell that brand, so to say, would you keep making knives, or would you just say, that's it and I'm fine? And
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, in a situation like that, and obviously we're speculating in regards to what we would do. I mean, I would imagine that there would probably be, in the contracts, there would probably be like me not being able to use certain things, and maybe I'll have to do certain things, and I probably couldn't compete with my own, my former business. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's the knife making is far more. Making sculpture is my favorite thing. And if I could just make sculpture all the time, it'd be great. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where, it wasn't financially feasible for me in terms of my family. And I'm getting the same stuff out of making knives and having a business as I was making sculpture. I'm getting more, it's more rewarding, frankly. However, I'm not going to show you my whole shop, but I have sculpture all over the place, just kind of staring at me. And it's kind of to show me my roots and to where I want to be going. And maybe I get inspired by some of my sculpture in regards to some of the knives. So the answer is it would be hard for me to say I wouldn't. I mean, there are certain things that are probably not really considered part of Feder knives, like some of the friction folder classes I teach, or these fucking butterfly knives I've been making lately. So there's a lot of stuff that would probably, I could probably take on and do, but there's a lot of stuff to, as a metal worker, I mean, Albert knows this, as a metal worker, it's not just making knives, right?
And I think this is a great segue to one of my questions that I really wanted to ask, is about your definition of humanity. As you said that there is a lot of humanity in the sculptures that you do. And I'm just really interested in what is your definition of humanity being in knives and sculpture? Because it's so easy to say that you make a mistake, do something that is, out of the ordinary. Maybe the grind is a little bit crooked, maybe something does not match up, and you say that this is humanity. But I really think this is not the definition, and I really wanted to get it from the source.
All right. So you're asking me if humanity forgives, errors that you're not supposed to have.
I say that it is very easy to understand like this, but I want just to get your definition of that.
No,
right?
It's good.
You don't have to defend it like, it's not about the mistakes, but...
No, so when I started making sculpture and painting, I had to find something that I really was trying to, investigate in regards to how I was making sculpture and painting. And part of that was using color and painting more like a printmaker and less like a, painter, struggling at this one spot. Like I liked layers and stuff like that. So then all of a sudden it becomes about, kind of contrast between color and other colors and shapes and stuff. So what happens is especially with something like watercolor, when you're painting with watercolor, a lot of times you don't have a lot of control over the the remnants of the process. Same thing with forging. When you're forging, a lot of times there's going to be things that are artifacts of the process itself. And you can either get to the point where you're just like, well, I'm just going to micromanage all this, or I'm going to allow some of the artifacts of the process to kind of stay. And my father, the way he painted, we allowed a lot of the paintbrushes strokes to be the paintbrush strokes, and we weren't painting with we were painting with gesture, we were painting with spontaneity, and sometimes things happen. Now, I think that when it comes to humanity, and nowadays, especially with AI and everything like that, I think it's important to show, and I've been seeing it, we see it with the way business is going. We're getting a lot of messages and business in regards, it seems as though it's almost like a response to technology and something like that. When I started forging, my main forging professor, Uri Hoffi, passed away a number of years ago, was very much a part of the whole idea of let the hammer make the mark and celebrate it. You don't have to like go back and tap it a million times and just try to allow the process to be the way it is. So between my father and then one of my main professors, there was a lot of support for the idea of allowing the humanity. And I think I get the humanity came from Hoffi. Hoffi used to say, that's allow the humanity to be, that's the human mark. And when it comes to knife making, there are certain standards that I think that you can't be blasé about. So like, especially when you're not considering, I don't consider knives to be art, or my knives at least. So there is an expectation of what you're getting, what the person's getting. So in regards to my decision making, I think that I have done knives in the past where maybe I'll change the liners at the last minute, and one will be thick and one will be thin, and then I'll be like, I'm allowing this to happen because I like the incongruity. Or when I think about the humanity in my own work, I like asymmetrical handles. Like I have my handles, G10 handles. Usually there'll be one side and a right side and a left side, and they're different, but they're not a mistake, or they're not rustic, or they're not like I'm trying to throw someone past something. I'm trying to have a relationship between the left and the right, and that is part of the humanity. Did that answer the question? But I don't think that you fucking let some 60 grit scratches hang out and you're just like, don't worry about it, it's good enough. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfectly. That was a very good, coherent answer. It really, I think.
But I'm also not going to be hand sanding for 8 hours on one knife. You can just forget it. That's not happening. I mean, I think that part of the humanity is also figuring out that your customers don't give a shit how much time you're spending on a knife. Don't give a shit.
Yeah, they only care about the result. They don't care about how long it took you to make it.
I mean, I think that there's a strange thing, and maybe Ben can kind of add to this, is because he was a metal worker for quite a while, and fabricator. There is something that a lot of craftsmen hold tight that's seems like it's understandable. It's like this badge of honor in regards to how long something is taken, and that's supposed to be meant to be some sort of like, when you say this took me 40 hours, then you're expecting the person to hear that, to say, that's unbelievable, I can't believe you spent, that doesn't mean anything. It's like when it gets to the point where if it's done or it's not done, but you don't get a badge or a statue made because you spend a lot of time hand sanding a knife.
The value in the time probably comes from, since most people kind of get paid by the hour. I mean, I would think that there is a correlation, or how would you say it, there. So people who say they have worked 40 hours on a thing, yeah, I mean, as you said, it means nothing really, because maybe another dude makes it in 2, the same work. So, but they just think, 40 hours of my time, that must be worth X, Y, Z.
Right.
So, yeah.
You're absolutely right, and that kind of goes into something that, especially on Knife Talk, we get a lot of messages about it. And Knife Talk has been a really interesting podcast because we've been doing it for almost 10 years, and there's this we have this like sociological group of people who come through, and then they leave, and then they're listeners, and then but the questions all really remain the same from the same levels, and it's always about the idea of you learning something that you enjoy doing, and then there becomes a commodity to this thing that you like to do. And then you're trying to figure out, well, how can I even make this more of a commodity? So the questions we get are always, no matter through the years, from, brand new knife makers, are almost identical. And a lot of it goes to the fact of charging, how much should I charge? And this takes me this way. And a lot of these guys haven't learned the efficiencies of how to kind of figure out how to not make them not work so hard. They're working harder than they need to. They haven't had the experience of like the efficiencies of figuring out ways in which you can cut your time down. However, they're still charging people for their R&D, which that to me is, completely, I find that to be offensive. You can't charge a customer just because you don't know how to do something and you're there on the hour. I don't like that. It's like, you're in business or you're not in business.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, especially with the split of makers where they do like specific model lines, right? Because it's so much easier to split the R&D into like if you are selling like 50, 100, 200 pieces of knives, right, of the same model, the R&D is just for one model. So it's way easier to, maybe learn a new technique, maybe buy some new equipment, maybe you are doing tumbling, sandblasting, whatever, you are trying to achieve. And I think it's way more harder to calculate that by being a totally custom maker where you fulfill the wishes of your customers. Because if they wildly are different, right? They want like a camping chef knife and you did like boovies before. How will you, know how to make a good chef knife? Then you come to a point where you say maybe no to that custom order, or maybe you give a price that is including the R&D, right? Make sense or doesn't?
Look at Pauli. Pauli's doing it. Pauli's doing it. If Keith, you're listening to this, Pauli's doing a good job answering good questions. I'll tell you what I hate, and it's usually a message I'll get in the DMs or I'll get it to Knife Talk. A guy who makes knives and then they get asked to do a set of knives and then they've never done a serrated knife before. And they're basically looking to ask me how they should put their serrations on this particular knife, as opposed to saying, all right, let's practice a little bit on a piece of mild steel. Let's figure out a plan. That's the thing that's the craziest, is like these guys, most of them have, I'm hoping I'm not being, I actually am being offensive, and I apologize. But at the same time, it's like most of these guys have never been in shops before, where they don't understand that there are, you learn from mistakes that you made, and you understand what the problems are. Or like, I got a message from a woman who wants me to make something simple, and I know I've gone down the road that she wants, and I'm just like, it's a dirty road that you don't want to deal with. It's a road that I've been down, and it never works. You have to use that experience in order to inform your decisions in terms of your customers and in terms of, your own mental health.
I think you shouldn't apologize, and you should be offended and a little bit offensive in this place. I think that you need to set your boundaries, man. If somebody asks just how to do it, maybe some tips and tricks. You got a reel for that. You just look at it and you try it for yourself because you get the general gist, which is fine. But if the person comes at you and ask for hand holding for hours every day, oh, what should I expect for the performance? What's the actual angle? Bro, just do your own R&D. Hold it up to your own standard.
But where does this come from, Pauli? But where does this come from?
I think they, maybe in your case, they get a little bit, the parasocial thingy. They think that you are their buddy because they are listening for hours.
No,
for
not
you.
that. Not the asking me. Not asking me. But where are they coming? You come up with a business and then you're faking it till you make it from the beginning to the end. Where does this come from? Where does this mindset of like, putting, jumping 2 feet from into without knowing what the hell you're going to do? Albert, what do you think?
I think it's smart for them to ask you, to be honest. I mean, that's the only...
That's fine. No, it's fine.
That's a rational thing to do, because the people are looking for shortcuts like all the time, and why wouldn't they try, right? It's smart. Of course, it's also justified to be offended by that, because people should do their own R&D, but it's smart.
I'm telling you, I think that where it comes from is, this is a hobby that was created by YouTube and social media. And it's a very, very easy entryway into metalworking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a whole lot to make a knife. You know, your little woodworking experience, you gotta have a drill. Oh yeah, you gotta have a heat treating oven and all that stuff or whatever. But the if you watch Aaron Goff, you know, or Trollsky or, you know, Sorrells or any of these guys, they'll teach you how to make a knife with very minimum stuff. And then all of a sudden what happens is a lot of these guys have never been in a metal shop before. You know, they don't really understand how metal works or the specific tools work and stuff like that. And then the problem is there's little experience in regards to the expectations of, well, I guess, do I need to clamp this piece of steel down before I put it in the drill? It should be fine, right? You know, it gets to the point where it's like, well, experience would tell you, well, that's a disaster, you know, or even like if your drill bit is, people don't know that if your drill bit is bigger than the material that you're using is much more likely that it's going to helicopter out of your hand. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you'd learn if you had this experience. The problem is they don't have the experience. If you're learning how to do a serrated knife or you're trying to figure it out, what's crazy to me is, why don't you just grab a serrated knife that you have and take some measurements? No one has ever done. That's the one thing to me that's always the craziest. Like, it's easier to make a serrated knife most likely than a regular knife, because all you have to do is take a measuring tape and measure the serrations and then look at to see which contact will you have.
It's not true though that no one's ever done this, because I did this before I made my first serrated.
That's why you're the man.
Before I made my first serrated knife, I bought the most expensive knife on Amazon, which is a €200 bread knife, and that's where I learned how to do it. So I took measurements. I took a look at the grind because I was too proud to ask someone else. So I wanted to figure it out myself.
I give you a lot more credit because you didn't immediately say, somebody show me how to do this.
No,
you before you had that opportunity, you were able to say, let me do some investigation, like simple investigation.
I get it. I mean, we have all kinds of people who come to our shop to buy steel, for instance, or belts, whatever. And they see this, let's say, serrated knives or hook grind knives and whatever. And all of them ask us how we did that in order for them to be able to copy us. And that annoys the shit out of me.
As it should.
I mean, I always tell them how I do it because I think it's rude not to tell them, because I figured it out. Why not tell someone else? But if it becomes a habit, and it's become a habit by now, so these people come to our shop and they ask us like all the time how we do this, how we do that. And that annoys me because we spend a lot of time in developing our skills and skill set.
I'll tell you a funny knife talk story. This happened a number of years ago. This guy kind of went into Mareko's DMs and then my DMs, and Mareko, you don't respond to his DMs. You just forget that. And respect to my brother, who I'm going to talk to in a couple hours. He's unbelievable. And this guy asked me a question, a very extensive question. I answered it. It was, I answered it in the DMs or whatever. And then he asked me, and he thanked me, and then he asked me another one. And then I said to him, well, why don't you just put it on Knife Talk? Then we can not only, well, this is a great question that we could use for the podcast. You might help other people. There was back and forth. And he then sent this scathing message on Knife Talk saying, I don't understand why you guys put yourself in a position of being, noteworthy in the knife making community, but you're not willing to help other people. Or if you do, you make us feel stupid. And it was like this. And I wrote back. And then before I ripped him up on pod. That's the other thing is I don't fight for free. If I'm not gonna give it in the DMs. I'm gonna put it on Knife Talk. And I ended up saying, I was like, this is a guy, no offense, I'm sure he's perfectly fine, but he asked me a question, I answered the first question. Asked me the second question, answered the second question, helped him out. But he didn't like my answer for the third question, and then now we're bad people. So you're going to get that too. And it was like a whole big production. The guy was just like, he just could not wrap his head around the fact that we wouldn't help him individually, and who the hell are we to not help someone in this community.
I would challenge what Albert said before, that it's smart for them to ask us, or any of us, or however. And that ties in with the second thing Albert said. I think it's long term, it's not smart, because it just shows that you, as the person asking, with a very high chance, lack creativity and problem solving skills. And if you don't have that, you will just not be any competition. And that also, for me, telling people how I do certain things gives me a bit peace of mind, because I'm thinking, okay, and I'm not talking about other knife makers I'm friends with. You know, I have chats with Tobias Hangler, and I don't know, you guys, about technical things potentially all the time, but we are in a very specialized and deep, topic then. But I'm saying general questions, like easy stuff. If you can't solve that, you just don't have it in you to even be of any competition. So so that is at least what I tell myself. If someone asks me, I usually just tell them and, shrug it off, because that doesn't go anywhere in my opinion. I have never asked someone such basic questions. And why is that? Because if you want to be self-employed and have a business, you have to be more or less a problem solver all the time.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I enjoy figuring out shit myself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I became self-employed. But I stand by what I said. It's the rational thing to do. If you want to have a shortcut, by rational, I mean it's the most efficient way.
Short term.
Right?
Yes, of course.
So, and that's with respect to this one knife, let's say, serrated blade, it's the rational thing to do, to ask someone, because you get a shortcut, right? If someone tells you how to do it, you can easily replicate the process and make a serrated knife yourself. I mean, it's not that easy, as we all know, but still, in theory, you could.
Funny enough is I've gone through 4 different ways. Actually, the first way I did it was the craziest way. The first way I made a serrated knife was I drew out the knife, and then I drew a straight line representing the edge, and then I did center punch holes every, I don't know, probably like 3/16 of an inch or something like that. And then I would drill those holes out. And then I took a countersink, and I would countersink into the scallops. And then I'd cut the line. And then I'd start grinding. It was fucking, it was like, it's still, the knife is still, actually, I'm going to go see the guy who bought that knife for me on Monday. And that was a totally madness way of making it.
It's creative, though.
I thought this is it. I mean, I've already created the scallops, I've already done the whole thing, and it works. I mean, it's, like I said, total madness. And it was, to me, it was the only metalworking way I could think of is to make the scallops the same size. Because at the time, I didn't have contact wheels. I didn't have an idea of how to do it. And now I've used my experience for the way I started doing is Mareko came to my shop and he showed me how he does it, and he was doing it on the top wheel of his grinder and going down, basically dropping the knife down every so often. And I realized that when I used to, and Ben, you used to make railings too, when you lay out for pickets, you have a top rail and a bottom rail channel, and you're punching holes in the channel.
Yep.
What you have to do is, if you have an ironwork or something, a punch with a channel, is you have to make your marks to show where your center line is on the channel, and then you run it through. And then when you're sitting there in front of the ironworker, you're lining up your line with the hole. And I started using the way I laid out pickets in order to figure out how to do. And that came from experience. It came from I hated the first way I did it. That was terrible. I'm not going to do 35 center punch marks, and then, I mean, crazy. And then I feel like I wanted someone to exhaust all their options on how they figure this stuff out. Otherwise, usually what I'll get is, once somebody figures it out, they'll say, well, why didn't I think of that? And it's like, well, all right, well, we don't have to go into that. But then they'll do it. And then what will end up happening is they'll do a YouTube video on how they do their serrations. It's unbelievable.
I think Chris Reeves put it really, really well. If you know Chris Reeves and his folding knife Sebenza.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Superman.
Reeves. The Superman. And they are doing since ages tours of their shops. And he said like, why are you doing this? Why are you showing your process, how you are doing things? And he said, it does not matter if they see how we are making it, they still have to make it.
Right.
And it's the same, like Albert touched a little bit, if you know how to make a serrated knife, this is not the same as you actually making a serrated knife, because you have to make the knife itself. You have to put in the work, and the work is not easy,
This is, something I say all the time. Experience is underrated. I mean, I've learned more about knife making from being a fabricator in a metal shop than I have taking classes or working as a working, watching YouTube videos. I mean, you learn when you have experience in a metal shop, you have understanding of the attitude you're supposed to take when you come up to machines. You have an attitude on what machines can do. And then you also have an attitude of how you can make adjustments or jigs in order for those machines to work in your benefit. And I don't think that, and what I was getting at a couple, probably 10 minutes ago, was I think that there's a lot of people who are getting into knife making and they think it's great. And it's a great opportunity for you to express a degree of creativity. But it's almost like you're born and then you go right into high school. It's like there's a lot of foundational stuff that you miss that your experience would tell you, like how to read a measuring tape, and how to decide, well, all I have to do is measure the serrated knife I have in my kitchen, and then I can give me an idea. Well, maybe I'll put it up against the contact wheel and say if maybe that's close. And I feel like that there's a few generations of people who are excited, and you don't want to trample on their excitement. But at the same time, it's like there's a lot of foundational stuff that doesn't come through.
I think talking about the original statement, I think the people who are asking these very, very concrete questions, maybe they are too early in their career. They saw some dollar signs, and they took it to literally the saying, just make the mess. And they are way, way above their head, and they're like, oh no, I have to figure out a shit ton of things. I just made my 10th knife and now I have to do like 40 sets of 3 knives for a restaurant. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's the other thing is like right now I'm totally in the weeds. I'm trying to get ready for now. It's what are we end of July, and I'm focusing on trying to get ready for Christmas, number one. But I'm trying to finish off orders. The guy who works for me, who's fabulous, his wife just had a baby, and he's out for a little bit, and I've been kind of out of the shop for a little bit. So I'm on my own, and then I have a few other jobs I have to do, and it can be overwhelming. But I think back to when I was in a metal shop, and we would do these crazy jobs, and they were really busy. And as soon as the job was finished, they came to pick it up. Ripped the sandpaper out of my hands. They were off to the job site, and then a new job came through. And you learn this degree of how to handle pressure and how to handle the expectations. Like after this, like I got to tell you, Pauli, I was thinking about, I almost yesterday, I was just like, God, I'm so busy. If I had an extra hour or two, I could totally get ahead. And then I was like, I should just call Pauli up and just apologize and say, I can't come today, just get some work done. But then I realized that's not the way you do. You do what you say you're going to do. And that's how it is. But at the same time, now I'm just like, I'm just going to spend an extra couple hours after all the podcasting today. And then I'm going to get this stuff done just because it'll help me out tomorrow. So I won't be as stressed out tomorrow. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't have that feeling, and people get super duper overwhelmed, and they don't have the experience of what it's like being busy, or what the expectations are when you are busy.
Thank you for making it.
Of course. For you? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Pauli,
look,
I mean, you used to be a Knife Talk listener. I remember seeing Baltic Blades questions all the time. You were one of our children,
OG.
I think I might be, am I wrong that your wife sent in a birthday message for you to the podcast? Is that possible?
This was extremely funny because it was Baltic Knives' wife.
So it was a different Baltic. Oh, so is the Baltic Blades? I'm thinking about Baltic Knives and not Baltic Blades.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was extremely funny because
but you used to send in questions.
I used to, and I loved the live shows that you did. But then I was really sad. I was really sad because I had nothing to listen on Mondays. So and talking about podcasts.
What are you talking about?
It's because I would listen to them live, and then I would not have anything to listen on Monday.
Yeah, the lives are dumb.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It was something different. You tried a lot of things. And this next question is about podcasts. And if I do not ask it, I think I will get some angry DMs from other podcasters. So, Mr. Geoff Feder, could you maybe name your top 3 pet peeves with bad podcasts?
Well, number one,
he was ready.
Pet peeves. Number one, I'll tell you what, one pet peeve of mine is the pet peeves, the word pet peeves. I don't know why men use this expression. Pet peeves comes from Penthouse or Playboy centerfolds. I don't know if you guys are too young for this. There used to be, you used to buy pornographic magazines, and they were, there were nice articles and everything like that. And they would have a centerfold, and in the centerfold, it would ask the questions of the centerfolds, and then it would always say pet peeves. Pet peeves meaning something that just annoys you, and then they would write, whatever. And then I don't know, I got older, and all of a sudden all these dudes are talking about their pet peeves. I'm just like, you're not a centerfold in a Playboy magazine. Why are you saying pet peeves? Yeah. I'm just kidding. You can
give me a break. It's my second language. It's fine. I have no idea. I had no idea what it meant. So thank you for explaining it. I'm gonna go and buy the Playboy magazine and look at the pet peeves.
Good, man. You still have the pet peeves.
You still have to do like 3 things that give you the, you are angry. You are like, you guys are bullshitting.
Okay, I'll tell you a few things. One thing is fake laughs. Fake laughs are not good. I think that the biggest problem that most podcasters have is they're thinking about the people listening. And when they think about the people listening, they speak in a manner that might be not truly who they actually are. So there's a lot of like fake bravado or use of a lot of cliches or parroting things that other people say. Instead of saying pet peeves, I'll tell you what I think it makes a great podcast. Number one is when you're talking to your hosts or you're talking to your guests and you're blocking out the fact that people are listening. And then that's important. I think that it's important to, when you're talking to the guest, I think it's important to be concentrating on what they're saying so you can, I see it like almost like climbing a rock wall, and then you're looking for your next crack to talk about. So maybe you had an idea where you wanted to talk to, but then somebody says something interesting, and maybe you allow it to go back into, well, what did you mean by that? And how does this affect you? And then figure out a way to kind of come back onto the main topic that you're talking about. I think I'd rather talk about the things that make a good podcast than make a bad podcast. But I think that, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of, in the maker community with podcasts, I think that there's a lot of, I feel as though that there's a lot of like weird guruism where people seem to think that just because you're good at one thing, you're good at everything. And then you're supposed to say, you're supposed to talk about the things in the world, and you're supposed to talk about how people should live their lives. And you should, and it's just like, to talk to the people on your show. Don't talk to the audience. Talking to the audience is, stopping yourself and just talking to the audience sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Perfect answer. And I just remembered another question that I wanted to ask you about your business. And because you're on a time constraint, we will play the game after this question, if you are fine with that.
I'm with you, Pauli.
The question is, I remember you mentioning that you implemented some sort of a replenishing system in your shop. So how is your shop organization changing and how you are doing things? Is it like something similar to Kanban, where you have like minimal stock that you keep and then you are replenishing it and buying some more from the same distributors and etc.?
You're talking about ingredients, like the working materials.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I think the one thing is like the hardest part now, especially in the United States, this might not be something that affects you guys, but steel scarcity is becoming an issue. Like I'm having to become, and I learned this in the restaurant industry in terms of just like, don't realize you're out of it at the end. Like you got to realize a few weeks out when you're going to need to order, because you just don't want to be in a situation where you're out and, you know, you don't want to be stopping what you're doing. And now our biggest problem now is, and last year I bought a lot of steel that was in the United States, pre-tariff steel. And it was great because it allowed me to not only get the knives I need water jet cut, but I got them quick, because all of a sudden you weren't waiting for a pallet to show up or whether or not they're going to pay. And now we're having issues because there are distributors who are, you know, have pallets waiting in a steel mill in, you know, Sweden or something like that. And then they're kind of deciding to not, you know, ship them over because they don't want to be stuck with the tariffs. So there's a lot of materials that are not being reordered. And that becomes something you have to think about too, because you just don't want to be out of material and then call up your distributor and say, all right, I need, you know, AEBL 16th inch. And they'll say, oh, we don't have that anymore. So I think it's important to be a couple of weeks out in regards to what you need. Now, I was thinking about what you're saying is we had pars on all our knife designs. And that meaning like we would have 5 of these and 5 of those. And when we weren't busy, it allowed us to, like, we would always make sure that when we sold one, we'd throw that on the next build, and we would make sure that we had, but we got so crazy that I'm having a hard time getting caught up in making sure that I have enough material so we can ship knives, you know, immediately. Did that answer your question, or I went off?
Perfectly. It's the same with the stock management on the web shop, because you have to have some minimal stock, and the same with the, as you said, ingredients. For me, it really helps, you know, to have a specific set minimum. If I hit that minimum, let's say I see there are 5 bags of eyelets left, I know that I have to order because I will use them up just in time for the other ones to arrive, and then you know where to order them. Now, going to the game. The game is called This or That. It's been a while since we played it, and the gist of it's super simple. I have a huge list of things that is this or that thing. Without any explanation of those things, you have to say which one do you prefer. And after that, we might go into explaining why you chose one or the other thing.
Love it. That's a good game.
They get a little bit unhinged by the end. We'll see how you'll manage. Okay, you ready?
All the time.
Carbon or stainless?
Who goes first?
You go. You are only playing.
I'm kind of the horror co-host with this podcast.
No, he's.
Oh, okay. So, Albert, you're not. I mean, that's a good question. You know, normally, I mean,
be quick, my man.
Okay,
this or that. Stainless. Okay, what are my carta? Quicker.
G10.
Fucking G10 going off the rails. Kydex or leather?
Kydex.
Yeah, easy peasy. Laser or workhorse geometry?
What?
A laser geometry or a workhorse geometry?
The geometry of the knife. Laser or workhorse.
Oh.
Quicker, go by your
I'm going to say workhorse, but I have reasons behind it.
Yeah, we will talk about that. Hand-sanded or belt finish?
Oh, that's a tough one. Depends on the knife. For me, hand-sanded. But for Tomer, belt finish is perfect.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Evening or morning?
Morning.
Terrible. Tits or ass?
Next question.
Don't worry
about my sexual preferences. Pauli, you little bastard. Keep going.
Okay, I'll mark both. New school or old school?
New school.
Wow. Angelina Jolie or Pamela Anderson? You have to pick one.
You mean modern day?
I don't mean anything. You have to pick one.
Modern day, I'm going to go with Pamela Anderson.
Interesting. Music or podcasts while working?
Music.
One knife at a time or batch work?
Batch work.
Mm-hmm. Organized shop or chaotic shop?
Chaotic shop.
Make the mess. Beer or wine?
Beer.
Excellent choice, my man. Compound grinds, are they overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
Interesting. Would you rather...
like a capital O, overrated.
Okay. Would you rather reincarnate in the next life as Craig or Mareko?
Craig is a good lifestyle. Craig has got a good ass lifestyle. I want to be part of that Craig Lockwood lifestyle.
And the last one, Lakers or Boston Celtics?
Oh, fuck both of them. Are you kidding me? Both of them. Both of them. You could throw both of them out.
You have to choose one, my man.
I'm not. No, just not. I'm not. You will never hear me choose between the two of them. That you can forget. I have a soft spot for for Irvin Magic Johnson, but that's about it. That's as far as it goes. I'm not gonna fuck both of them.
Perfect. Thank you for participating. Now we can talk about some things that you chose.
Go ahead.
Carbon or stainless? I think stainless is your bread and butter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The choice is kind.
I think that stainless. I mean, if you follow Fox River Blades, he's this great guy, Jaden Schubert. He's just a great guy, and he was a listener to Knife Talk, and then he was in a terrible car accident, and he was paralyzed from the waist, from the chest down. Guys, this guy has got the spirit of, I don't know another person who's got a more upbeat, indomitable spirit than this guy. He's really interesting. He makes great knives. He does everything in a wheelchair. He's figured it out in a very short amount of time. He's just a great guy. He actually just did a whole thing on his reels, basically saying that there's a lot of that people's opinions on stainless are, outdated, and that new stainless has just as good of, it's not like it used to be. And part of me feels the same way. And I also feel as though my customers are generally, they don't really understand, and I want to give them something to feel more comfortable with.
Ben, do you have something to add to that?
I saw the reel, and he was kind of rage baiting, I think.
Big time. Giant.
Yeah, because he said, you've been lied to. And he's introducing the issue like that. And then there are a lot of simplifications. I think he's not fully wrong. And I think arguing with the data, stainless steel can compete with carbon steels on some topics. But I think if you look nuanced on it, and you are making kitchen knives with super thin edges, for example, Apex Ultra at 65 HRC plus with good heat treatment, just you can't. I don't think that there is a stainless steel comparable to the wear resistance, edge stability, and edge stability and wear resistance are probably the most important factors that can compete with that package. But we are talking very nuanced, as I said. And he was oversimplifying the issue
100%.
In a very coarse picture, like he paints it, he might be right, but in the detail, he's not, I think.
I will never disagree with what Ben has to say.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that.
I'll never disagree. I like the idea. I like the idea that I have a mixed opinions on rage baiting, but I like his attitude. Like it's hard for me to like ever root against Jaden anyway. So
it's great.
But at the same time, part of me is just like, I don't think that I think that I would prefer to oversimplify the whole thing anyway. So.
For a reel, it makes sense. And he's trying to make content. It makes sense. But I'm just saying, if we talk in detail about it, I think.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, I want to be the devil's advocate, but first, shout out to Triple T Podcast. I think the episode with Jaden and Noah from Eniat River Forge, it was amazing. Such a good episode. So our listeners should go and listen to that. And now for my being the devil's advocate, Ben, you know my stance on carbon steels. I mean, bro, you have to take care of it. I hate when my knife turns brown. I get all of the performance. I think. Look, okay, you're gonna come at me. I know you're gonna say, "Hey, but did you hear about the stainless clad Apex Ultra?" Yeah, but
no, I won't. But that's besides the topic, because I respect that problem of yours, and I think it's legit. And then carbon is just not for you. But Jaden was saying nothing about patina, so it's beside.
You just got rage baited. It's fine. He got
I'll
you.
Slap
it's
you
fine.
so bad at Knife Show Austria. Bitch slap.
Damn.
First hug, then kiss, then you can slap me. Okay, fine.
I mean, I'm
Thank
a romantic, so.
Yeah. You have to warm me up before you give me the slaps. Okay, you chose G10 when you were choosing between wood and micarta. I mean,
I love G10.
Bro, G10, the dust, if you could, I mean, micarta is pretty great. G10, if you are machining it, it's great. But if you are grinding it, it's so hard on the materials, and the dust, it's all itchy. Unless you are doing fully, in water cooled.
You got G10. Once you figure out a way to kind of cut down on some of the dust, which we have, I cut it down I do a lot of preform with, or cutting it down with the tile saw. That changed everything, because it's like I'm using the same tile saw I was using, the tile saw blade I was using, 5 years ago. And because of the water, there's no dust whatsoever. There's no smell. There's nothing, and it allows me to get, better cuts for the kind of the laminated scales I make. And then I try to rough it in on the bandsaw with the Portaband, and it works great. Yeah, it's not awesome to have that dust, but I'm wearing a respirator all the time and I have a exhaust system. But it just looks, to me, I don't think there's anything for me, for the kind of knives that I make, the handles that I make, the colors that I want to use, nothing comes close. But however, I do love to use tan canvas micarta, and that's a bigger bitch to work with than G10.
Yeah, and I must reiterate, as I said in previous podcast, fuck micarta, because it changes color with UV radiation. And if you got like a green canvas micarta, it turns brown when it's exposed to the sun for a long time. Yeah. Jesus Christ, just go with the G10. It's I mean, so good.
I thought you don't like G10.
Yeah, I have to play both bases. Right?
Okay, I like the
sexuality.
I like the canvas. Oh, there you go. I like the canvas micarta because I do like the fact that it does change a little bit over time. It looks a little bit more organic. I think, but I always I'll never do just the tan micarta. I'll always have like a bright G10 spacer or bright G10 bolster or something like that. So I have to have contrast. I can't have just straight up micarta. I can't do that.
Yeah. Kydex or leather, I think you are objectively right by choosing Kydex. I think leather is inferior in every way. It wears out. Kydex is so great, easy to work, and not that expensive. And it has a wonderful
Kydex I love like that?
Bro.
Kydex.
Mr. Feder.
Kydex, baby.
Benjamin.
A little heat in the press is all you need.
Benjamin was roasting me because I was not a knife maker. I was a sheath maker because I spent so much time on my vacuum.
Jeff, you can't imagine how much effort he takes to make his Kydex sheaths. So I said he's a full-time Kydex sheath maker and part-time knife maker for those sheaths. And I think I'm right with that opinion.
I really kind of go as simple as possible because I just want to have something, especially with a chef knife, that won't fly through the box. I've had knives. I bought a knife from a famous knife maker that you guys all know, and it came in a bag, one of those zippered pouches, and it had a little tip on the end of it, and it wasn't enough to make the fucking thing. The tip fell off, and then it shot through the zipper, and then it shot through the box. Can't have that. Can't have that. So the Kydex for me is really great for shipping. It's great for the people who are traveling with them. I really try to roll the Kydex into the price of the knife because I don't want to spend 1 million hours on Kydex sheaths. And I just don't want to learn one more thing. In leatherworking seems like if you're going to do them right, it's a production. So I just don't have any interest. And frankly, I don't really want to deal with animal hides. I have no interest.
Kydex is the way to go. Let's go. Let's get into the.
Except the big thing that's bumming me out about Kydex is I don't want to add more microplastics into people's lives. That's the only thing we spend so much time cleaning out the Kydex, and I feel as though that's one thing that is really important, is to make sure that you're not sending people off with sawdust, Kydex sawdust in their knife.
It's fine. Adds a little bit zest to the food.
Oh yeah, it's their balls. Then all of a sudden they're just sorry, sir. Go to the urologist, and the urologist tells you have 7 ounces of blue Kydex in your testicles. That's not something. That's not something you could just. Don't worry, Pauli said it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Pauli said it's fine.
Now, vanilla or chocolate, and you chose vanilla. I always thought that you were a chocolate guy. Vanilla?
All right. Well, here's my
Serious?
opinion. I'm thinking, but you're talking about ice cream, right?
Maybe.
You're talking about ice cream,
Maybe.
or about anything else?
Don't underestimate Pauli.
It can be.
I guess I just assumed it was talking about ice cream. Chocolate ice cream has so many variables to being good and not good. Like the amount of good to not good with chocolate ice cream, it's a very wide berth. So you can't guarantee that the chocolate ice cream is going to be good. You know what you're going to get with the
argument. Very rational.
Like
I like that.
You always. That's the one thing people say. Oh, you're so vanilla, so vanilla. You know exactly what you're going to get when you're going to get that vanilla. You know exactly. Maybe it's not as vanilla as you would hope, but chocolate, the range from disgusting to terrific, it's too big of a range.
Just pick a brand and stick with it.
I'm just saying that if you go out to a restaurant and you get an opportunity to get some ice cream, you just know that like this chocolate ice cream might be incredibly bitter, or it might not taste like anything. You know, like McDonald's has a great chocolate shake, tastes like vanilla. I don't know what to say. You know, it's like you can never. That's the one thing about chocolate. I never truly trust chocolate ice cream because I'm just like, it's a real crapshoot. I mean, whether you're gonna like it or not. And don't get me started on frozen yogurt. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Okay, you converted me. I think you are so logical with this answer. It just makes sense. Unless you you are not going to a restaurant and you are buying a brand, then you know what you are getting.
Yeah, of course. But I just assume like when you say chocolate or vanilla, it's not like I'm standing at the supermarket frozen aisle and then I can make that decision. You're giving me the choice of chocolate or vanilla, and I know that however I receive it, the vanilla is probably going to be a little bit more reasonable.
You chose the safe option. But this is exactly the essence of this game. It can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
It can be whatever you want. Now, you refuse to... Oh, okay. Evening or morning? Was it always morning? Because from me seeing Keith is living on old man time and he prefers the morning. Did you always were a morning person?
Some of my favorite moments of my youth was when we were staying at my grandparents' house, and my grandfather would wake up at 4:00 in the morning, and I would go into his room and I'd watch him shave. I'd watch him shave, and then we would go downstairs, and then he would start to, 4:00, 4:30 in the morning, he would start to get food ready, breakfast ready for the family. And I remember those moments, and then it was dark out, and I remember there was nobody up, and you could just hear some animals maybe. And I thought, this is like, it's your own time. It's like this great time. And then I worked at a bakery in Manhattan, and I was the early guy. And it was like when you show up in New York City at 4:30, 5:00 in the morning, the city's yours. And there's something about that time that I really, really appreciate. So I've always really I like getting up early. I try to get to the shop by like 6:45. I wish I could get here earlier. But I do like coming in. I like really early in the morning.
No, it's so nice. It's like it's similar to in the wintertime when snow is falling, everything gets silent. It's a similar feeling. The city is empty. You can just drive with your car.
It's reverse overtime.
And
like you can
leave
time,
early. So in the summertime, I'm leaving at 2:00, 3 p.m.
That's right.
Something like that. Go swimming with the boys or something like that. Whereas Martin Huber, for example, that bitch is in the shop at 10 a.m. and leaving at 6 p.m. early 6 p.m. or he is there until 8 p.m. The day's gone. The day is over.
Yeah, and it's so quiet, and it's so,
fuck
you're
working
that day.
I'm working to live. I'm not living to work, motherfucker.
Exactly, and you come back from waking up so early, and you're like, I'm so tired. It's fine. I know you got kids. It's fine. But it's such heresy that you are both talking. Like being an evening person, it's so much better because it's all quiet after your work day. You have a nice commute back after everybody's off the roads.
If you go early and you leave home early, it's still quiet at night. What are you talking about?
Okay, yeah, but I just hate getting up early.
My college roommate, my college roommate Miles was I shared an art studio with him, and he would sleep until 11:30 in the morning, but he would work until 6 o'clock in the morning. And I tried doing that a couple times. By around 9 o'clock, my stomach hurt, or I have to fart a lot, or I started to get tired, and I'm like, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm relatively miserable, and this isn't fun anymore. I don't want that. I don't want late nights. I don't want that. I'd rather get up early, get my shit done, and then, I have enough time to go home, walk the dogs, have a nice day.
But now I'm curious, what kind of time is it where you have to go to bed the latest without being completely tired the next day?
Well, we have things going on, so I try to get to get to bed by 10, but it never happens. Usually watching baseball or basketball, and that usually ends around 11. So I'm, basketball season is tough because the games last a little bit late. They start a little later and they end a little later, and then baseball, they cut down on the time. So I'm trying to get to bed just by like 10:30.
That's reasonable.
Okay, so now before going to the big question, I think we should do another one of those. Is you chose new school compared to old school?
Okay,
might share your thoughts.
I like younger generation. I like the thought of younger generations. I like young people. I like the energy that young people have. I was, when I was working at this bakery, I work with all these high school kids, and I was in my 30s, and I just like what they had to say. And I like what my daughter's friends have to say. And I really have learned, and I've probably learned it from my wife. My wife loves younger generations, just likes the energy of younger people. And I've felt the same way. I think it's really important to, appreciate, the attitudes of what younger people have to say.
Excellent answer. I totally agree with that. At least here in the media, we got a lot of bad coverage that the new generation fucking sucks. They are lazy, blah, blah, blah. But when I go out, I see people working hard jobs, young people. They are trying to ends meet, and they have interesting opinions about things, and they are not that stupid as the media is portraying them. So I'm totally on that.
Well, why do you think these attitudes? Because I know what you're talking about. Why do you think it's the parents' fault? So it's the older generation's fault. If you really
I think,
break it down.
Look, one of the oldest documents found in Egypt was about the older generation complaining about the new generation, about how everything is going to come to an end.
No, 100%.
So it's clickbaity. Everybody likes to hate on something, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Now, my guys, let's go to the big one, because I think it's really, really interesting.
Pamela Anderson?
Okay, let's do that one.
Oh, no.
What's the big one?
What's the big one? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Like Pamela Anderson? Really? Angelina Jolie is like,
let's just tease. Here's Pauli. We got to tease that. You got to go back to that. Now you have to say, all right, we'll be back to Pamela Anderson versus Angelina Jolie in a minute. And then go back to what you're doing, and then you kind of get people interested.
Okay. And I know because you have a hard out after this, maybe we can just
go ahead. We're good. We're good.
So the big one is the compound grinds. And you said that they are capital O?
Yeah, capital O for overrated. God bless you if you do them. I think they're great. I feel as though a lot of it is created by knife makers because they figured something cool out. And I think that a lot of guys do a great job. I'm not saying that it's like complete, but it's like, I call it the heated steering wheel of a car. It's like, they're great, but it's like, I didn't buy the car for the heated steering wheel. You know what I mean? And if you're talking about, thousands of years of culinary knives, and now all of a sudden you have these little newfangled situations. It's a reinvention of the wheel. And if you really want to get into it, if you're buying a knife and you're paying an extra $900 because of the way it cuts a potato, I think you're misfocusing your energy, right? I mean, because we're talking about potatoes. I sold that to Fingal Ferguson. We started calling it the potato grind, because if it's just for a fucking potato, it's like, how are you cooking? What are you doing? Any professional kitchen will have a like a robo coupe with like an attachment to make their gaufrettes and all that shit, or their juliennes and all that stuff. So who are you doing this for?
Look, I think, first of all, I think that kind of saying that they don't use it in a professional kitchen should not be the benchmark. The benchmark should be what your clients are actually using, because your clientele could be different. Right. But I would be so interested to hear what Ben and Albert has to say about those, because both of these dudes are doing lots of
I'm never offended.
I hope I didn't offend both.
I'm never offended.
I hope you did.
That was my intention. That wasn't my intention. Listen, before they go on, there are people who I think that what Salem Straub does, where he makes it part of the design, like he'll do these forge welded bars, and they will almost be the border of the S grind. He's figured out ways in which to make it really, really great. And I've seen, and I'm never going to, like I said, I'm never going to say a bad thing about Ben. I saw firsthand a couple of weeks ago the collaboration he did with Tomer, and that beautiful knife that he did with Tomer. And Tomer is the first person to say, I've done collaborations with people, but they never go in 5 minutes. So like, I know, obviously, I'm not the be all and end all. You asked me a question and I answered.
Yeah, Albert, you want to go first?
No, you go first.
So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, S grinds, compound grinds, hook grinds, all those special grinds, they solve a problem. And the judgment of how important that problem really is for you, not for you, Geoff, but the rhetorical you, I don't know if that's really important. The thing is, it solves a problem, and it makes things a little, it improves some things, and I think that gives it enough legitimacy on its own.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think sometimes S grinds or compound grinds or hook grinds are a little bit, there is a misconception. I think of them a little differently than most people, I think, because most people focus only on the food release. I would say, if you have a certain knife at a certain length, and you would have, a convex bevel or a flat bevel on each side, and that knife, let's say, weighs 200 grams, with a compound grind or hook grind, you're just redistributing material, if you know what I mean, in the sense that the same knife with the same weight will have a completely different cut at the same time, or a very easy cut at the same time, have good food release, compared to the same knife, same weight, with a flat or convex grind. So I mean, it makes sense. The question, how much sense does it make, and how much are you willing to pay for it? That's a difficult question to answer, because all our knives aren't really a necessity by that standard anyways, probably, because the industry makes cheap functional knives. So everything above that is already, an extra on its own. So adding another extra isn't illogical to me. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of playing around. I mean, I will admit that it's not a necessity. Yeah,
I'm not against it, and I want to change my answer to a lowercase o. I want to change it to, Ben has made me want to change it to a lowercase o. Okay? No, it's not a capital O.
I respect
lowercase o. Is that? I mean, I agree with it. Everything you said was on the money. I just, I guess a part of me, also tries to, through the lens of my price point of my knives, and I'm trying to I'm not trying to look to figure out ways in which to make. I'm not looking to figure out ways in which to make more money off my knives, or to add more. I'm trying to get more value. And I haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm fast enough or I'm good enough where I can put in some, I love those Grant edges. I think they look great. Fingal Ferguson did a Grant edge with Damascene.
I'm with you. In a price value proposition, all those special grinds are probably pretty off. So I would say that myself.
Right.
But I'm curious what Albert has to say.
What do you mean by are off? They're too expensive for what they are? Or
for the additional performance they add, in my case at least, they are probably too expensive. They cost me a lot of labor, so I have to charge accordingly. And the price value proposition in that sense is probably not good for the customer compared to a more simple convex grind, for example. They're the value price proposition, or how would you say that, or ratio would be better.
Yeah.
100%.
But what's your opinion, Albert?
I mean, compound grinds have been around like forever, right? Japanese knives had these compound grinds like a few hundred years back, so it's not something new. Like with the hollow on one side and the convex on the other. See,
True.
Like on a tuna sword.
Oh, the hawk tuna.
We've made two, but I forgot how they're called. Yeah, but the large tuna swords, right? They have a hollow grind at the back and on the one side and a convex grind on the other side, usually. And I agree with everything Ben said. I mean, there's certain grinds that perform better at certain tasks than others. So that's why there's Scandi grinds, full flat grinds, convex grinds, and hook or S grinds or other compound grinds are just another sort of grinds, I think. And they make for, if you take a hook hollow grind, for instance, it makes for a lighter knife. So that the knife's going to be not as heavy as if you wouldn't remove the material on the hollow grind side, for instance. So you can make very large knives that are very light. You couldn't do without like a hollow on the opposite side.
That makes a lot of sense, and I agree with everything you've said. And I hope I haven't offended either one of you.
No.
Interesting thing is I was in Japan a couple of weeks ago, and I brought back a knife. And one interesting thing was it was Yanagiba, sushi knives, and it had a compound on one side, just like you said, Albert, and then like a chisel grind on the other side. The interesting thing was they were, if you look, they didn't want to sell it to me. Because they said it's a very specific knife, and it works for certain things. And I got they sent me some literature, and it was like all the things you can't do with it. And part of me was just like, yeah, this is a really specific knife that I'll probably never use. I'll use it for like whatever. I'm never going to use this knife. And it was so specific in terms of like, they were just saying, don't use it for this, don't use it for that, don't use it for this, don't use it for that. And it felt like it was so specific that it was almost, that's the reason why they didn't want to sell it to me, because they're just like, this is not the knife for you. And I feel as though part of me is what I'm going for with my knife making, and it makes me very callous to other people, and it makes me very, self-absorbed. Like even when I make that joke saying capital O, but it's like I'm trying to give someone some versatility, and sometimes I think that whether I agree with both of you in regards to the weight, there's no question about it.
And I kind of disagree with Ben.
Dum dum dum.
Same. Oh, good. Then you know what?
Me too.
Then I'm gonna step out. I think that
Hey, now I'm curious.
Good. Go ahead.
I think they're not that hard to make. So if they're so labor intensive to do, then we just have to get better at it and quicker. Right? I mean, the same argument applies. If you do a hook grind or an S grind, is it really that much more work than a convex? I mean, of course it's more work, but in a way that it affects the price that much?
Comparatively to the use you get out of it, I was saying. So, I mean, you get a little bit of food release. That's nice. But is that worth it? And I would say so if I would make my production line knives that are by now almost 600 euros net per piece, with a hook grind, I'd probably charge 700 to 800.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying for myself, in my kitchen, with my knives even, that wouldn't necessarily be worth it to me. That extra charge. So that is what I'm saying. The value isn't...
Yeah, but we are not professional chefs. If you're, let's say you're a 2 Michelin star chef and you cut like potatoes, to take a chef's example, you cut potatoes like all day. I think you would appreciate a hook grind or an S grind knife because it's your tool and you use it like for 8 hours a day.
I mean, I offered and I make it.
That's also, I mean, as not being cooks, these guys are not cutting potatoes for 8 hours a day. They have like machines. It's like you're not hand drilling with like a rotary drill. They're figuring out efficiencies too. And those efficiencies, that $800 knife is, you could buy 2 RoboCoops with the attachment to do the same thing. So there's like, I think that they're great, and I love seeing them. I mean, I've seen them in person. I think they're awesome. I'm sure I've never used one. I'm sure they work great, but there is a bit of vanity too.
Yeah,
that's a vanity situation. It isn't based off of like, I would talk to Max from Majime Knives because he does it, and he was a professional chef. Like talking to the professional chefs who've been down that board. I mean, let's talk to Mert Tansu. Mert Tansu was a executive chef. You don't do food release. You don't do compound grids. And so it's like, talk to the guys who actually do it.
I mean, everyone has his or her own story. I mean, I sold one of my first hook grind knives to a 2 Michelin star chef, and he was blown away by the food release. And he asked me why he didn't buy one sooner. So
no, I think they have their place. I mean, I don't want to talk them down completely, but I'm just saying there is I think legitimate criticism.
Lowercase o.
Yeah.
Lowercase o.
And just to add a little bit, I think, Ben, your argument about it being a bad value proposition, I think it's in generally wrong, because if you look at any other industry, let's say audiophiles, right? You have to pay exponentially more for the high-end performance because it takes just way more effort to get that squeeze of performance. The same goes with, I guess, watches, with cars, with anything that you can think. Where is a spectrum, where is something basic, something premium, extra premium, and then luxury. And I think it is, you are getting the top percent of the performance and you are paying top dollar, which is fine. You are not looking for the best bang for your buck. You are looking for the top performance.
But even if you are, I mean, if you buy a hook grind knife from Ben, let's say it's 200 euros more for a knife. You how many Kamon knives can one buy in one lifetime? 1 or 2, right? So they last forever. So usually, or at least let's say the next 10 years. What's that? I mean, it's 100 to 200 euros more for a tool you can use every day for the next 10 to 15 years, at least, let's say. So we spend much more money on tools we're gonna use a lot less than a knife than we can use every day. So why wouldn't you want to have the best performance you can get for your money, right?
All right, so we need to know what's below lowercase o. Whatever's below lowercase o is where we're going to go.
Just rated. They are just rated, not rated. Over, not under. They are just rated. Oh, okay. That is that. Let's go to the big question, the most important one that we've been hyping up for the last 6 minutes, I guess. Angelina Jolie and Pamela Anderson. Geoff, why? Why Pamela Anderson?
You know what? She was such a huge sex symbol in the 90s, and now she's really aging very gracefully. Like she doesn't do the plastic surgery. She doesn't worry about. She doesn't even wear makeup anymore. And there's something about the fact that she was put on this pedestal of like the obsession of, beauty, and she's kind of rejected it, and she's now trying to age gracefully. Her attitude seems just so much more honest. Probably cost her, work or whatever. But like there's a degree of like, there's a degree of I mean there's a beautifulfness to just even that attitude.
And she doesn't look washed up and
she looks great. She looks like an older woman, my age, But it's like, she'd been through it. I mean, she went through it, and I have nothing but respect for her now and then. So there's your answer. No. Not as glorious as you'd want.
Thank you so much. Then I guess you have a hard out. We can close this down. Geoff, thank you so much for coming to our show. Benjamin, thank you for being a step-in whore host instead of Keith. And let's close it down. And dear audience, do not forget we have a Patreon, High Carbon on Patreon. And thank you for listening. And as they say, bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Yeah, High Carbon Podcast on Patreon. Support us, motherfucker. High Carbon on Patreon.